Hello and welcome to another jungle video, and in this one we are going to be taking a look at why an oppressive early game jungling style is the way to play in Season 10. Why you need to invade, why you need to gank, and why you need to counter jungle, and fourth on that list would be doing your own farm. And ultimately everyone is talking about the nerfing of jungle experience, the removal of catch-up XP, and that's why this playstyle has developed. And to illustrate these concepts of being an oppressive early game jungler, of shutting the enemy jungler down, of getting yourself super fed through super ganking, we have two very important and distinct styles of early games to analyze and break down. And as always, if you enjoy the Season 10 jungle content, please consider liking the video if you enjoy fancy effects and learn something, maybe even click the subscribe button. Now this wouldn't be a video analyzing the strength of hardcore early game jungling if we didn't start with an Elise game. And as always, we see the runes on screen now so you know what kind of tools they have at their disposal. Unfortunately, when picking junglers for these videos, very often they are against Elise since he's just so popular and in such a good state, it's kind of, difficult to find a game where he isn't involved. However, in this case, his arrogance will be his downfall. You see him going for that invade on the blue buff. What's a very common clear that you're seeing on streams and in high elo games at the moment? Buff, gromp in any order, but those three camps gives you level 3, gives you easy access into those ganking lanes. And unfortunately for Elise, he does fall here. Both junglers smited just to try and keep themselves alive in the battle. The Cassiopeia did rotate to try and help Lee Sin. That flash was probably a little bit overzealous, and the Elise gets away with a win now. The Lee Sin gave Elise a free kill, she did, but what she does with it is important. Let's be honest, most of you in this situation would take the safe option. Get the crab, gank in the mid lane, maybe gank in the bottom lane, go full back into your jungle. That's not Season 10. Season 10, the enemy's camps are more important than yours because of the experience being so low and there being no catch-up experience. If you can deny them their camps, you just make them more useless than you are. It's very much the old Nunu style of play. So what does Elise do? She makes her way to contest his blue buff. She can afford to go across the mid lane because the minion wave is pushing, her mid lane is going back. That's nice, a good shortcut. You guys were wondering about that little ward trick. It's not really a trick anymore, but placing a ward, going back, getting the red scanner is really useful in these situations because she can scan as she approaches into the enemy jungle and sees the blue buff being dragged towards the grump. That gives her all the information she needs. Attempts to try something on the Lee Sin, but he has a safeguard to get out. Now let's pause the frame. What's wrong with this picture? Her mid laner had just gone back to base and finally reached mid lane. Her top laner is still back in base, and so she's going to get collapsed on. This is obviously a big mistake, so you do need to pay attention to lane priorities when making these moves. The main thing here is that the Lee Sin actually ends up falling as well. The Jax probably shouldn't have TP'd in. It was a bit of a replay and there's no point all three of you dying. However, I want you to note her behavior. What is the first thing she does upon respawning? She goes directly to the mid lane for retribution. She doesn't go to her Krugs, she doesn't go to her Gromps, she doesn't care about the camps because of how little they matter in the context of the meta. Straight to mid lane, straight to gank that flashless target. The Jax also wants his retribution, comes on down, and secures himself the kill. Yes, the Lee Sin was involved in that because guess what? If you watched the previous video, 5 steps to come back into the game in Season 10 specifically, you'll know 100% that it's not through farming your own camps. If you see the opportunity to fight, to pick a kill, to get a counter gank off, you're going to need to take it. At the same time, you really don't want to have to die again, but the Elise's pressure is going to force him again and again to make these really difficult decisions. As an oppressive early game jungler in the Elise's position, what do you know at this stage? The Lee Sin is way far behind. He's going to need to try and clear some camps just to get any semblance of experience. So this gives you the opportunity. Take Crab 1, take Crab 2, gank in the mid lane as soon as the Cassiopeia returns, move on up, gank the top lane, get a kill there too. And now you can kind of feel for the Lee Sin. Elise moves on down to take his grump away, so he's losing his own camps anyway. He knows she's probably on the top side and begins to move into her side of the jungle. He knows he needs to get a gank off. That's where the catch-up experience is. He knows the dragons will help him greatly. So while he thinks about taking her grump, he knows if she didn't end up counter jungling, by the time he's about to finish that grump, she will arrive and take him out. Not really a worthy trade. As such, he looks for a gank in the bottom lane. It doesn't go too well. Of course, the Draven has all his sums, so this is really a losing situation for the Lee Sin. If you're concerned about his perspective and his struggles in life, please see the previous video. But being a supreme early game jungler and shutting the enemy down such that they feel worthless requires you to rotate to all scenarios. It doesn't go quite as planned, and the Cassiopeia is forced to leave mid lane to try and help out. Lee Sin gets a little bit too arrogant. Elise flashes, stuns, kills him, and walks away. So currently it's a 2-for-1 in the favor of the blue team, so it's not so bad as a team perspective, but from a jungler perspective, really great for the Elise. Again, she hasn't been in her camp since the opening clear. What's your next move as a jungler? Get some wards down, take your buffs, take your camps, maybe gank mid lane again? No, remember, Suppression of the enemy jungler in Season 10 means taking all their camps from them and timing their buff spawns. Elise knows she has the level lead and uses impeccable pathing to circumnavigate that mid vision. That's why their placement of vision isn't actually that great. Aggressive jungling, powerful instincts, good pathing, completely ignoring her own camps, nets her yet another kill on Elise, and in this case she can actually afford to take his red because all the other laners that could help him, I guess, are kind of sick of it, but also they're not really in a position to do so. It's actually been quite a while since I've seen a jungler take advantage of the other one in such an aggressive way, punishing that one mistake he made at level 2 and using it against him in such a vile way. At the same time, how can camps be worth so little experience that this benefits her way more than actually farming? We know that ganking and taxing the waves can really help, and that'll be our next game, but in this situation it's simply taking his farm and protecting her own from being taken. And look, moves across the mid lane in such a way that you think, hey, the Elise is going to go into a red buff. Finally, I get a little bit of time as Elise and I can secure my blue and feel happy. Elise doesn't quite like it when other junglers are happy, uses her false direction to go into the blue buff area, knows exactly what he's doing, and basically probably is giving this Lee Sin player an actual case of arachnophobia. You know when you think someone's playing a prank on you and it's a plastic spider, and then it isn't? Yeah, kind of something like that. To his mid laner's credit, Cass again rotates to try and do something about it, but the Jax also has a lead. She not only has impacted every single one of the 3 lanes, she has completely ignored each one of her camps in favor of invading and furthering her lead over the enemy jungler. He has no catch-up experience, he has no way of ganking, no way of farming, and because of the nature of the jungle at the moment, Elise knows this is going to work for her. However, I will point out that most players, mid MMRs, diamonds, even low MMRs, you do need to throw in that farm. It will be important to you because enemy junglers aren't going to be as predictable. They don't know what they're doing, so how can you know what they're doing? It's important to keep this kind of pressure up, but make sure you're sequencing your own camps within that, at least getting the buffs. But the idea in general, applying this kind of pressure in general, will definitely serve you very well. Now you think she's on the Raptors and she's going to sequence a blue side. How naive of you. I'm going to invade the Lee Sin again, she says. But at some point you bend the twig enough, it will eventually snap, and they do give a shutdown away. The bottom lane dies because they're diving as well, and that there is the little window from trying to do it a little bit too much. This is actually replicated a short while afterwards. She respawns, doesn't do any camps again, straight to the bottom lane with her Yasuo, who did get that first tower, invades a little bit too aggressively again, dies, and now you give the dragon away plus the kill, and that's how you let junglers back into the game. Fortunately, you'll see from a few clips she keeps this pressure up and furthers her lead even more so. Her entire lead is just because of this mindset. I don't have a jungle, you have a jungle, and I'm going to take it. Yeah, Lee Sin invaded and died, but she also invaded and died, so you've got a little bit of parity there. It's about her decision making to gank immediately afterwards, not do camps like Lee Sin, and as such she could just express herself all over the map. This was a lesson in how to make the enemy jungler uninstall. But I hear you say, I cannot beat the enemy jungler 1v1, or perhaps the situation just isn't really there that I want to permanently invade. Well, good for you, because Qiyana is still one of the most played junglers in high elo. Her win rate isn't very good, but the reason she is still very popular among the best junglers in the world is because of her burst damage, her mobility, she has map scaling, and the fact that once you're fed, you're very difficult to deal with. So much like Elise in the previous game, if you can get a small experience lead through the spam ganking, spam invading, no one can actually touch you, at least from a jungler sense. And it's actually quite funny, because in the new jungle meta, people are doing different clears. When you revert back to a season 9 clear, it can actually surprise those junglers thinking they're doing something unique. Nunu thinks he can simply do his blue side into scuttle, perhaps gank on the bottom lane. How are you gonna do that when Qiyana shows up? And look at that damage. She actually gets her bottom lane ahead here just from that gank. Small assist gains and lane pressure on a lane that's going to push anywhere with a Heimerdinger is absolutely huge. Now, much like the Elise, she wants to be an oppressive early game jungler to shut the enemy jungler down, but instead of taking his camps and making him feel useless, she's going to make him feel useless because she's spam ganking, and he'll never be in a position to do anything about it. Moves through mid lane, takes the Scuttle Crab, invades on the Raptors, so kind of the same principle as Elise, and when you're invading and counter jungling, it leaves you in the best position to counter gank. What's better than getting a kill from a gank or a counter gank? Getting to take minions as you push the wave, and then getting another kill. Do you see where I'm going with this? Everything that you can do is better than perhaps farming your own jungle. There are exceptions to this rule. Evelynns, Kanes, you farm so damn quickly that it doesn't really matter as long as you're getting that lane impact. But if you want proper meta destruction, if you want proper hard carry experience levels, you do this. Go back to base, ignore your blue side, do your second tier Krugs and Raptors, because in this case we do want to farm a little bit more than the previous game because we're not invading and taking away the enemy jungler's camps, we still need to take ours. Don't fall clear, that takes too long. Go to the top lane, because now your top laner has a lead. He's Rumble. Dive the Tryndamere before he gets level 6. If he manages to escape, no problems, take the Krugs away. This plays into the hands of the League of Denial. If I'm ahead in experience and you have no camps, I will forever be so. Now, much like the last game, the mid laners in high elos will begin to rotate and they will punish you if you keep exerting this aggression, so be ready to navigate the walls and get out. The Nunu in this case, look at how stifled he's look. He's getting forced into chasing down kills on the enemy support, which you normally wouldn't do because you know the Ryze went topside, you know the Aurelia is going to rotate, and you know you're going to die from him. But junglers are getting so tilted by being level 4 at like 6 and 7 minutes, it's putting them in the situation that they do crazy things. And as our alpha spud jungler, like the Elise, like this Qiyana, that's exactly what you want. So now that Qiyana was forced back to base, you think she did a blue side? No. You think she's gonna do Krugs, red, and Raptors? No. You gank on the bottom lane again. Straight away. From base, gank on the bottom lane. Tristana gets away because Tristana, and she's able to chase down the Soraka for another kill. Now you think, oh, you can do the dragon. Yeah, but individual dragons, they're not so great. No one's really getting one. Let me go invade the Nunu. She does attempt to chase him down. She might have gotten the kill. The Ryze interferes, but because he's next to a wall, well, you can see what happens. In their quest to complain about catch-up experience, in their quest to complain about ganking, in their quest to complain about junglers being more leveled than them, laners have brought down a fury they have never seen before. We have nothing left in the jungle in terms of golden experience, so we're just going to gank, invade, and gank some more. Yes, you can solo dragons. Yes, you can get Rift Heralds. Please do not forget they exist. Please also do not forget that buffs exist and your jungle camps do exist if you need to fall back to them. But your priority should not be them. And I hope both games in this situation can show you the power of being this oppressive force on the map for the laners and the enemy jungler. Even when lanes are losing, as you saw in both games, not all lanes were winning. Our junglers were getting collapsed on, they were not having the best time. But when you do this, you will have lanes win even by accident because of the pressure you exert and the kills you secure. Translating this pressure and lead into a victory is of course part of the problem and why you won't always win when you do this style, but the Qiyana here showed you the best way to go about that. After that kill on the Ryze, fell back to the dragon, did her red, ganked in the bottom lane again, went back to base, we skip forward a little bit, and go straight to tower dive the bottom lane. This gives you all the plates, gives you first tower, and now you can rotate the map, secure the herald, gank some more, and move as a unit. Just be careful about being too aggressive. When you die in the enemy jungler's territories, you give them time to get those camps back, you give them a shutdown gold, and when you gank this much and don't get kills, when you invade a lot and don't get counter jungling or kills in the enemy jungler, you will be the one that's underleveled, and yes, you will fall back to your camps in your jungle, but it won't fill the hole and the void in your life that you get from ganking and killing the enemy jungler. I hope this can 1. Illustrate how weak jungle experience is such that the high elo junglers, their notable CS per minute scores are really down because they are very actively doing this. When you can gank and get a lane ahead and mid or top laner, their level lead over everyone on the map is going to be supreme. And even if you don't match that yourself, at the very least you will have a great level lead over the enemy jungler. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you were able to enjoy and learn something. Please do like, share, and comment if you did. We always like to get around 1,000 likes per video. Lets me know what you want to see. Consider subscribing for all the Season 10 jungle videos coming soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.